Hey guys, sleep deprived boy here and welcome back to another video. So if you watched my last video you'll know that I recently got hold of a McLaren edition HTC Vive Pro. Virtual reality of course is a big part of my channel and up until now I've been using my trusty Oculus Rift, which has been pretty damn decent I must say for my first VR headset. But the Vive Pro is supposed to be a good improvement from the Oculus Rift, so I thought hell, let's try it out. So in this video I'll be going over my first impressions of the Vive Pro, what I like, what I dislike, and perhaps a brief comparison to the Rift. Please keep in mind that I pretty much exclusively use my VR for sim racing, so I'm only really going to be talking about the headset today, nothing to do with the controls that come with the bundle. And in the interest of transparency, whilst this headset was sent to me by HTC, this video is in no way sponsored by them. All opinions are mine, as they always have been, as they always will be. So, as I mentioned, this is the McLaren edition of the HTC Vive. In terms of appearance, the only difference between this and the normal Vive Pro is the orange trim on the front, complete with the McLaren logo. You also get bundled with this edition a McLaren version of RF2 plus a Vive port subscription, but that doesn't really pertain to how the headset performs. Speaking about the physical absolute unit that is the Vive Pro headset, overall it is a little bit comfier than the Rift despite being bulkier. It's very adjustable and makes suiting the headset for your own head size fairly easy, even for someone like myself with a head the size of a small moon. I do have one minor nitpick however, which is the adjustment knob on the strap at the back of the headset. Said adjustment knob protrudes out from the back of the headset in such a way that when I'm driving in my rig, it actually rests against the seat behind me, meaning that I can't put my head in its natural position. To be fair to the Vive Pro, I do have a fairly tall bucket seat on my pretend race car here, but it's still a pain nonetheless. Outside of some issues that I will go over later on, setting up the Vive Pro was pretty easy, frankly. A couple of downloads, some calibrating in Steam VR, and you're up and ready to run in about 10 to 15 minutes. My first drive in the headset was in Assetto Corsa using the Open VR setting in Content Manager. Straight away you notice an increase in resolution. Now I'm lucky enough to have a PC that can run high settings at 90 frames a second in VR when I'm not recording anyway, and my word is there a difference. Honestly, I never saw the complaints of lack of resolution in the Rift, but I noticed it after using the Vive Pro. Everything is just so much clearer, you notice things that you didn't before, and you don't find yourself straining to look at your dash and your gauges. As a result, the Vive Pro is a bit easier on my eyes than the Rift. I found after prolonged sessions with the Rift that I'd have quite a bit of eye fatigue, so when I'd come off after maybe an hour of driving, I'd almost want to go to sleep, my eyes were so tired. At the moment, I've not experienced anything like that with the Vive Pro, though my longest session driving so far has only been about 45 minutes, so maybe that will come with longer periods, but as of now, I'm finding it a bit easier. One of the complaints I've taken away from the Oculus Rift is fogging in the headset. If you're unsure what I mean by fogging and you wear glasses, imagine going from a cold environment to a warm environment, and that condensation is what appears on the inside of your headset. I used to keep a little lens cloth on hand to clean the inside of the Rift, and I had to do that quite regularly. So far, I've not had to do that at all on the Vive Pro, so that gets a big thumbs up from me. Something that I am a little bit disappointed in though is that the FOV is pretty much the same as the Oculus Rift, meaning that you still have these kind of blinkers on when you're in the VR headset. I don't think it's too much of a problem in sim racing because it almost simulates wearing a helmet and what you can see for a helmet, but it can be a little bit distracting, and the reason why it's kind of disappointing is that it's a complaint that's been around for a while with virtual reality headsets, so it's something that I would have liked to have seen addressed, but unfortunately hasn't been with the Vive Pro. Moving on to the tracking, and I'm happy to say that's also an improvement over the Rift. I used to find with the Rift that if I looked too far to the left or too far to the right, that the tracking would skip a little bit, giving this pretty nauseating jerk inside the camera. Now I currently only have the one sensor set up for the Vive at the moment, but I can now easily look 110 degrees to the left or to the right and not have any issues with tracking whatsoever. I will say however, and this really only applies to people that have a direct drive wheel setup, that EMI interference can play havoc with the tracking of the Vive Pro. Now this is not something that I experienced with the Rift. When I switched over to the Vive Pro and noticed the tracking was a little bit odd, I had to check all my grounds, make sure all the cables had ferrite cores in them, and eventually had to wrap the direct drive wheelbase itself in an anti-EMI tape. Only once I had done all that did the tracking return to normal. It's very important to clarify though that this is not going to be an issue for everybody. My setup is rather unique, I think it's fair to say, and when the wheel wasn't turned on, the headset worked perfectly. I just wanted to put that out there for anyone else who was using a direct drive wheel. So in terms of performance, the Vive Pro outperforms the Rift in pretty much everything I think is important for sim racing in VR. But you'd expect that, considering this McLaren edition of the Vive Pro costs £1,450. The non-McLaren version is slightly cheaper, coming in at £1,300, but this is nearly £1,000 more expensive than the Rift. Now whilst I really like the Vive Pro, and as I mentioned before, the difference is clear between it and the Rift, the difference to me just isn't worth £1,000, nowhere near. Now I've been told the McLaren version is targeted mainly at collectors, hence the price, but for the average sim racer, the price of the Rift is hard to justify, let alone this version of the Vive Pro. Based on performance alone, I would recommend the Vive Pro. It's a fantastic bit of kit and a definite step up from the Oculus Rift I was using before. But my recommendation isn't based on performance alone, and on that, I find it very difficult to recommend this product to anyone who has been using a Rift and been enjoying it. The price difference is just too great, and realistically, if this product was about £700, £750 maybe, then I might think about recommending it, even though it's still a big price jump from the Rift. But the Vive Pro, the full kit, the non-McLaren version being £1,000 more than the Rift thereabouts, it's just too much. It's just too much. But anyway guys, I hope you found that video informative. If you have any questions about the headset, feel free to pop them in the comments below and I'll try and get them answered for you. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit subscribe to be notified of future videos and future streams. A massive thank you to my patrons and to my sponsors, and of course to HTC for sending me this headset. Take care, have an awesome day. I'll see you all next time.